This is the April QAS test from 2019. And 21 says, according to both the passage and figure 2, making a list of reasons for or against a policy has little impact on an individual something. So we're going to use the passage and figure 2 to basically figure out what blah, 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 list of reasons, etc. Before we solve this, the best thing to do is let's go back to figure 2 and let's just make sure we understand what it's measuring and what's going on within it. So figure 2 begins by saying volunteers' mean self-ratings for position on policy. This is what we're measuring. So a self-rating, again, is basically your report on yourself, so your own idea of yourself, and this is measuring position on policy. So if we look here, on this y-axis, we see mean self-rating, scale of 0 to 3, where 3 is the strongest position. So we start at 0, we go up to 3. So this is basically measuring on a scale of 0 to 3 how strong your position is. So if it's a 3, that means you have a very strong position. 0, you're not too strong with it. And self-rating, again, is basically your own report of yourself. We notice down here we have two things, two tasks that are mentioned. One is analyzing and explain a policy. That's the first experiment that we looked at. And then we have this second part, which is to list reasons for or against that policy. That's the second experiment they looked at. And we also notice we have gray columns and dark gray columns. The light gray columns is before a task, and then the dark gray columns is after the task. So this is measuring what happens. And two trends that we can notice is that when you ask people to analyze and explain their policy, their position, right, their own idea, their self-rating of the strength of their position dips before the task, after the task. Whereas if you just have them list their reasons for or against the policy, it stays pretty much the same. Does it dip at all? I don't think it dips at all. It stays the same. So before the task and after the task, people have the same strength of their position on a policy. So let's look down at the question again. The question says, according to the passage in figure 2, if you just make a list of reasons for or against a policy, you have a little impact on an individual something. So list of reasons, which is the second part here, it's saying you have a little impact on what? So true, we have a little impact here. Pretty much nothing is happening. And nice, nothing is happening. And basically it has a little impact on what? And that's going to be here. So it's going to have a little impact on your own understanding of the strength of your position, or basically your own report of the strength of your position. So if you just list reasons for or against a policy, the strength of your position is not going to change at all. So let's see if we have an answer choice that will match that. So here A says position on an issue. That's not going to change if you just list reasons for or against a policy. And that's pretty much what we just said. So let's keep that. Interest in an issue. It can't be interest in an issue because figure 2 doesn't measure interest. Figure 2 just mentions the strength of your position. So we can get rid of B. C says opinion about people holding different views. So basically, what do you think about the guy who has a view besides yours? It can't be C either because, again, the figure 2 doesn't measure people's opinions about people who don't share their view. So I think we can get rid of C. D says likelihood to vote in an election. And again, figure 2 is not measuring this likelihood of voting. So we could get rid of D, which is going to leave us with answer choice A, which says that basically just having people list their reasons for or against a policy doesn't change your position on that issue. And figure 2 supports that. However, this is also talking about the passage. So let's just make sure that there actually is something in the passage to support this. And if we go to the second experiment here, we're going to find that the results were clear. Those who simply listed reasons for their positions, articulating their values, were less shaken in their views. They continued to think they understood the policies and their complexity, and notably, they remained extreme in their passions for their positions. So they remained unchanged in their positions when they merely listed reasons for liking it. So for that reason, definitely we can choose answer choice A as our correct answer for question number